So here we are, class number 4 of this series, the 4 most important marketing strategies. So what's in my head right now is that all the things that I talk about in terms of what you need to succeed and what I think people are doing wrong, this isn't a philosophical discussion. This isn't a right or wrong from a standpoint of what I think should be happening or what people should be doing. It's right or wrong according to whether it's working for you or not. So I'll never say to anybody that they shouldn't do Facebook ads, let's say. But if you're doing Facebook ads and it's not working for you, I'll tell you why it's not working for you. Or if you're following somebody else's template that is teaching internet marketers how to internet market to internet marketers, and it's not helping you sell life coaching, I'll just explain to you why that's not working. So everything is either right or wrong depending on whether it's working or not. I just want to be really clear, and I want you to disregard anything that I have to say if your experience is telling you the opposite. So if something is working for you, then don't even engage in some of the things that I'm saying about why it might not be working. And I think one of the things that is a shame in this industry is that a lot of people are arguing over right and wrong. I think that's a problem in life in general, is that we're arguing over right and wrong because we put too much emphasis on right and wrong, as though there's a one-size-fits-all approach to right and wrong, especially when it comes to marketing, when you are a different product than anybody else and your market is different. Like, you just can't take this one-size-fits-all approach. So this class is class number 4. I'm gonna do my best to wrap all of this up and see and show you rather how it all stacks on top of each other, right? So we talked about getting your certainty in yourself first, and then your seeker, and then your skills. When you put your phone on vibrate, don't put it up against the thing that will rattle. Just learn that. There's another right and wrong. Yourself, your seeker, and your skills. That's where the certainty comes from. And when you have clarity, when you slow down and have clarity on those 3 things, then you can start going out and attracting people and sharing your message and so forth. But it's coming from a place of certainty. So now I want to talk about how to actually get engaged with people, right? Because if you're a coach, you want people to buy products, you want people to hire you as a coach. And so this is going to give you some ideas about how to do all that. Now, I don't know if I said this in any of the other classes, but what I believe in is teaching laws, not rules. When you just teach rules, like this is the way you're supposed to market, then anybody that doesn't fit that exact same ingredient, or that exact same recipe rather, if they have any ingredients that are different, then it's like they just don't get to play because this is the right way to do it, but it's not working for them. So they just must not be able to do this thing called coaching or marketing or whatever. But if you understand laws and not rules, then it'll do a couple things. It'll free you up from all the restrictions of what you're supposed to do because somebody else is doing it. But it will also allow you, this is probably it's definitely a bigger benefit. It will allow you to pivot and make changes when the rules change. And so if you learn how, like somebody spent probably a whole lot of time learning MySpace, and then it went away. Or people have learned Periscope. I don't even know if Periscope is around much at all anymore. But a lot of people put a lot of energy into specific platforms, and then the platforms went away, or the platforms got bought by somebody else, or they just changed the rules. And then you have to relearn the new platform, or you're just out of luck if it's gone. But if you understand laws, not rules, you can take the laws and apply them to any of the different platforms with any of the different markets that you want to go after and any of the different products that you have. And you can always think on your feet, and you'll be a lot more you'll be able to be more persistent. You'll be a lot more flexible that way. So that's my whole philosophy in all of this. So let's get into the handout. The first piece of page 1 says, where's the beef? for those of you that are old like me, or somewhere in my neighborhood of oldness, you might remember those commercials with the little old ladies saying, "Where's the beef?" And I don't remember what commercial it was for. It was like I guess it was like probably a fast food commercial or something like that. But in today's world, people are asking the same thing. Where's the meat? Where's the substance? And people are tired of just getting shallow marketing or going to online classes or live courses and not really getting much of anything. People are tired of that. So they are always going to want to know where's the beef? Where's the good stuff? And this isn't on the handout here, but you generally want to just give your good stuff away. A lot of people are afraid of giving their good stuff away because they want to keep the good stuff for what people will buy. But in today's world, and I remember being taught that specifically, don't give all your good stuff away, make them pay for that. Well, it didn't feel good to me to try to discern what was my good stuff and what wasn't my good stuff. How do I decide what they should pay for and what I should give away for free? So for me, energetically, it's just better to just give it all. Like give your all, give as much value as you possibly can. And when people experience real value, then, and it's a good fit, and they like what your offer is next, then there's a better chance for them to continue with you. Especially in today's world, based on all the things we've been talking about that I won't try to repeat. So like in this course, I'm giving you some of the exact training concepts that are right out of the bigger programs, even stuff that I do at live events, because I can't not. I mean, it's just who I am. I'm a teacher, but I feel better just giving as best I possibly can. And I would imagine that all of you will feel better also, rather than trying to withhold and then trying to decide what you should do. So the market is, well, the first bullet, the market is craving, desiring, and doubting real value. So they're wanting real value, but they doubt whether the value is even out there because of all the experience they've had. So when you give them real value, it will be distinct. It will be not just appreciated, but when people really see the value that you're giving compared to a lot of other things that they've experienced, you're going to have loyalty there. They're going to trust you. They're going to really like that exchange, that energetic exchange, because most people haven't had positive energetic exchanges all the time. Exchanges. The next bullet is that the value people need is not in the information. The real value that people need is in the message of the messenger, which is you. So the real value is in your message. It's in the lessons that you've learned through adversity on your path from the past. That's why I asked you all to go into your own personal story and come up with some bullets and come up with some lessons. That's where the value really truly is. The next bullet I already alluded to a little bit. Too many people are investing in the tools and rules of marketing. What are the tools? What are the rules? What should I be doing? What should I be using? And how should I do it? That's what people are asking. That's why there's so many programs out there saying, here's the exact step-by-step approach to getting more Instagram followers. Here's the exact step-by-step approach to building your YouTube channel. Here's the exact step-by-step approach to selling on webinars. Because the market is demanding the exact step-by-step approach of what are the tools and what are the rules, so I don't have to think, so I don't have to risk failing, so I don't have to be uncomfortable. I just want the exact rules that are guaranteed to win all the time. That's what people want. And so that's what marketers sell. But that's the reason that so many people don't trust marketing anymore, is because a lot of times those programs don't deliver. Even if they deliver on the promise, they don't work for the person because it's a mismatch, right? If you're on Instagram and you see an ad on Instagram, somebody teaching people how to build their business on Instagram, they're on Instagram teaching Instagram users how to build Instagram. So you probably have a good population of people that are interested. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can go on Instagram and follow the same exact principles that they follow when you're not selling Instagram. So you just have to understand, if anything changes in the recipe, the entire thing could change. So don't spend your time chasing and investing your time, energy, and money in just tools and rules. You're always going to have restriction there. My suggestion is invest in the value of the marketer. Those are the next two blanks, the value of the marketer. What does that mean? Invest more into you, not your tools and rules and skills and certificates. You are the one that holds the most value, and you are the one that's going to ultimately determine whether this thing works or not. It's not whether you understand the tools, it's how you relate to fear. It's not whether you can follow the rules, it's how you relate to visibility. It's how you get back up when you fall down. The whole game is about you. It's not about the things that you do. So my advice is to spend more time, energy, and money investing into your biggest asset, which is yourself. Private coaching is imperative. Live events, imperative. Constantly working on your own challenges as a human. It's imperative to do this work. And most people are just not doing it. They're like, yeah, I got this and I got this and I went there and I understand this, but it's not working. Yeah, it's not working because you're not working. There's something going on with you, with the center of the machine. And I would say that inner game is 90% of the battle at least. It's the inner game stuff. And yet most people are spending almost all of their time and energy and money on the 10% that doesn't matter all that much, especially if the inner game is not there. The next bullet is it's always good to scale. Of course, we want to scale our businesses bigger and bigger and bigger. But it's never okay to shortcut value. So it's always okay to scale value. That's why I'm not saying anything bad about Facebook marketing or any other kind of paid advertising or joint ventures or anything like that. If it scales your business, great, but you have to have value first. That's the thing. Don't try to shortcut the value. And what you want to do in the last bullet here is to give people an embodied experience instead of an intellectual expectation. I know when I talked about the market and where people are, we talked about how people are buying expectations and then they're not getting fulfilled. And so they then become very weary of those similar kinds of expectations. So don't sell them expectations. If you sell them expectations and you basically get into the front line and you're now in a battle with all these other people that are selling expectations and they're really, really good at it, you probably won't win that battle. So instead of trying to out-market the marketers, out-teach them. Give people experiences that they can't deny. None of us can deny if something that used to be in our head is not there anymore, or we used to feel a certain way and we don't feel like that anymore. I had a massive shift about 3 to 4 weeks ago where I just caught myself in this pattern of abuse and shame around, stuff I did in my business a long time ago or didn't do in my business. And I had this massive shift and I haven't felt that again. And so nobody can argue with me about what I'm feeling or not feeling in my body. And I could easily say, I want more of that, right? That's the thing. Do you want more of what you've already experienced? Rather, how can I sell you on this expectation? And the reason I have on there what they fear is not only have they been disappointed, but that turns into a fear and it turns into like a protection mechanism where they don't want to feel stupid again. They don't want to feel like they've been taken advantage of. So you don't want to even dive into that. You don't want to light that up at all. You just want to give them good experiences. So where's the beef? That's my take on where's the beef. The next chunk here is where's the peeps? Where are the people? Where do you go? Another common question that we have. How do I find my seekers? Wherever they are. That's the answer. Wherever they are. One of the reasons to study the seeker is to figure out where they are. Where are they offline? Where are they online? Are they reading newspapers? Some people should not do anything with social media because their seeker's not on social media, and they should just place ads in the newspaper, or they should go to Chamber of Commerce events because that's where their seeker is. So don't get caught up in this wave of social media and digital marketing and all that if that's not where your seeker is. Go where they are. And there you go. I'm going to give you the laws, not the rules. They're in one of two places. They're either online or they're offline. Period. It's one of those two. They're either online or they're offline. And next bullet, you will get in front of them one of two ways, either paid or free. It's really the only two ways. So you've got 4 quadrants. You've got free online, paid online, free offline, paid offline. That's really the only 4 possible scenarios. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of depth inside of each one of those quadrants, but let's not make this too complicated. Let's just identify not only where are they, but where do you want to be? Some people don't like online marketing, then don't market online. You don't have to do anything that you don't enjoy doing. If you don't enjoy doing it, you probably won't show up consistently to do it, and people will probably feel it, and that misaligned energy is probably not going to give you the results that you want. So make sure it's a match all the way around. The next bullet is the quickest way is almost always the slowest way. If you're searching for the quickest route, I can almost guarantee you it's going to take longer than if you just did it the foundational way. If you did it the simple way, it's going to be a lot faster than if you try to do it the microwave complicated way. That's just my experience. But yet, people are just constantly seeking the shortcut, right? Constantly seeking, how can I do it faster? How can I conserve energy and money and time? Okay, if that's your commitment, then there's probably not going to be a whole lot of value that you have. Now, this next bullet is really important for the time that we're in right now. I believe the coaching market in many ways is near burnout. And there's a lot of science to market evolution. A lot of science to what happens when a new product or something new comes out, and then there's a brand new market for that thing. That market goes through phases. And the last phase is, I'm calling it burnout. I don't know if that's what the experts call it, but the burnout phase is when people are just tired of it. They're just tired of the same old stuff. They're tired of the ads that lead to this, which leads to a disappointed purchase. They're just tired of it. And when people are burned out in the market, they don't trust the market anymore. And the people they don't trust are the marketers. So anytime that we show up and try to market and they don't trust the marketers, now we're one of the people that they don't trust. So this was not the case 7 years ago. We weren't near market burnout in any way, but now we are. Now, I don't have a prediction for when that's going to happen, but we're close to market burnout because people have been burned by so much online marketing. And when markets are near burnout, distinction is survival. Because if I'm burned out and I'm just tired of all these marketers selling all these things, but you don't fit into that, now you just removed yourself from the thing that I'm burned out on or toward or with. I don't know what the right connector is there. So if I, as the consumer, the collective consumer, is done with this market, then you need to be outside of that market, in my perception. Otherwise, you're going to go down with all of them. So the next bullet is that it's better to create a blue ocean than compete in the bloody waters. There's a book called Blue Ocean Strategy, which I think is phenomenal. And it talks about this business competition. And when most people are competing against each other in business, They're just trying to compete on price, or they're trying to compete on features. They're trying to compete in marketing strategy and sales strategy. But if you remove yourself from all of that, then what you've effectively done in their analogy is created a blue ocean where there is no competition. There isn't anybody else telling the stories that you're telling. And people are tired of all of those bloody waters as a consumer, but there's nobody competing against your authenticity. And the cool thing is, there is nobody that's like you. So it's just a matter of whether you have the courage to be you and to stand out in the crowd, because whoever stands out gets the attention. And a lot of times that attention is negative. A lot of times that attention is judgment. But if you don't have the courage to receive the visibility and everything that comes with the visibility, including judgment, then you don't have the courage to be different. And if you don't have the courage to be different, you're going to go down with the market. So when that's going to happen, I don't know, but I do have a bold prediction that it is happening. At some point in the very near future, it is happening because people are tired of it. So we need to give people a different experience of marketing and of each one of us. Give them a story they haven't heard before, which is our story. Give them the lessons that we've learned before. Make it real, make it authentic, come from a place of service, stay in advocacy for them, and everything changes. Everything is so much better as long as you understand that you're playing a different game. So doing it that way is not going to be the same as throwing $1,000 at a Facebook ad and expecting to get 500 people to come in and join your email list, and then all of a sudden sell them a bunch of stuff and have money in the bank tomorrow. Are there people doing that? Yeah, but this path is not that path. This path is one of more laying the foundation. It's like dating. It really is. Actually, I'm going to get to that before I get ahead of myself with these analogies. So page 2. So what's the plan? What are we going to do? The plan is that you have to find your clicking point. Now, I don't know where your clicking point is going to be, and it would be a disservice of me to tell you where it's going to be. I mean, I don't even know your product. I don't know your market. I don't know your seeker. I don't know your comfortability in sales. I don't know if you have a website. I don't know what your relationship to yourself is. I don't know what your relationship to money is. I don't know any of those things. So I can't tell you what your answer is going to be, and I can't tell you what the recipe is going to be. There's just too many variables. But what I do know is that, especially when you're relatively early in this process of becoming a coach, or you're just starting out with a new product or entering a new market, you're looking for your clicking point. And the clicking point is where the message plus the seeker plus the platform all come together. Now you know the message that attracts people, you know who they are, you know where they are, and you know the platform to deliver it to them. And once those three things come together, now sparks start to fly. Now you can start to go faster. That's when you start to scale. You start to do more of that kind of messaging to those people on that platform. And this concept is go slow quickly. So it might take a little bit of time, more time, definitely compared to the shortcuts, to reach that clicking point. But once you hit that clicking point, explosion. Many of you know my story that in the first 6 months of my business, I didn't really make a whole lot of money. I was doing a lot. I didn't make any money other than some cash exchanging hands early on, which wasn't all that significant dollar-wise, until about 6 months into our business. It was the first time that we started taking money online, and some revenue started to come in. We made like $4,000, which is amazing to me back then. I was super happy. And then we made 5 and then 6. And then the clicking point happened. After about, I'd say about 10 months, no, after about 8 months, the clicking point happened. I found the message that resonated with the seeker, and I found the platform. And then we went all in on that. And over the next 10 months, we made almost $300,000. But the first 8 months, we only made like 30. And the first 6 months, we made like 2. But here's the thing. It's not the amount of time on the calendar. It's the amount of time on the clock. So you might have been doing this for 6 months, every so often, every now and then. And I might have gotten more done in those 6 months, or I might have gotten the same amount that you got done in 6 months in 6 days, because I went all in. So it doesn't matter how much time elapses. It matters what activity you put into it. And the more you put into it, the more exponential your returns become. The faster you go, the quicker you learn, the easier you turn that learning into success and adjust and get more feedback. But too many people are just toe dipping a little bit. Let me throw this out there every once in a while. And then once I recover from the disappointment of what that produced, let me throw another thing out there with even less commitment. And that's just not, it's not going to work that way. So most people, frankly, don't have whatever the characteristic you want to put on what I had, the all in or the whatever it takes or the embodied commitment. I'll get to that later. Most people just don't have the time, they don't slow down enough to do the work. They don't implement enough to learn the lessons that take a while. Now, having said that, that doesn't mean that your time is going to take 8 months. It might go much faster than that. It might go a little bit longer than that. I don't know. But once the clicking point happens, then the explosion can occur. When you try to find the explosion without the clicking point and doing the work, it's not going to be enjoyable, and you're actually going to slow the process down. So the second bullet is, my advice is that you pick 1 or 2 platforms and get good at sharing your message consistently, tracking the results, and focusing on conversions. Just pick 1. If you need to do 2, then do 2, but make them connected. Tenacity, great, that's a great word. Learn what you have to do on this one platform that you think your seekers are using. And then learn everything you can from the platform. You got to be consistent. Remember, removing variables is one of my philosophies that I think most people need to do. Remove the variables, be consistent with this one thing, go all in, track the results, and focus on conversions. Now, conversions doesn't necessarily mean closing, doesn't necessarily mean getting money. Conversions happens all the way through the process. So somebody will see your post, if we're talking about social media, they'll hear your message some way. At that point, they're not even engaged. So the first conversion is, will they get your information and then engage? Will they like or love or comment or share? So can you convert, let's call them lookers, into engaged prospects or engaged fans? And then can you convert them from that platform out there to your platform, let's say on your email list? Can you convert somebody who's subscribed to your email list to somebody that joins an exclusive club? Maybe it's a free Facebook group or something, but it's still another level of conversion. And then eventually, can they convert into a client? And that could be buying a $7 thing or getting on the phone and talking about your coaching package. So there's conversions happening all along the way. Can we convert them from this step to the next step, and then to the next step, and then to the next step? And there's so much to learn there that if you try to do it with multiple seekers on multiple platforms and learn all of these multiple lessons, it's going to be pretty much impossible. So my advice, unless there's a rock solid reason not to, and I honestly haven't heard one yet, especially for people that are relatively new, is just slow down and dig in and do it right and be consistent. The thing is, you've got to be consistent so your own message evolves. The more you talk, the more your message will evolve. Now, a lot of people don't talk about their message because it hasn't evolved yet. And what I'm telling you is it cannot evolve until you talk about it. That's part of the evolution process. You've got to say it over and over and over again. You've got to get feedback. You've got to hear yourself. The things coming out of your mouth. The process of your message evolving requires you messing it up early, requires you saying things that you're eventually maybe even going to be embarrassed about that you said because it just wasn't all that deep. But could you imagine somebody not playing the piano until they become an expert? I don't want to touch the keys until I won't mess up. Okay, great. Well, you'll just stay there until you die. You can't swim outside of the water. We have all these analogies of what it takes to actually get going, right? And messaging is the same. It has the same concept. It's like the 10,000 hours concept. You got to practice and practice and practice before you get better. And as your message evolves, other people start to hear it more. They hear it more consistently. They hear what they were supposed to hear that the first evolution of it didn't get to them with, right? They just heard something differently, or maybe they evolved as well. So you've got to get it out and just allow it to continue to grow, but it grows outside of your brain, not inside of your brain. If you try to demand that your message gets perfect inside your brain before it comes out of your mouth, it never, ever will. And that's one of the things I did early on. I was ignorance on fire. I just went. I had an idea in the morning and I put it on a website in the afternoon. And there are so many things. I made so many mistakes. I've sent people to porn sites with virus links. I've ripped off a copyrighted name and was sent a cease and desist letter. I don't know how many times I sent people places where things weren't ready, or links or pages that were expired, like so many mistakes. My favorite one is the porn link, by the way. I'll just tell you the story since I feel like I need to give you a few more details. So our domain was attacked by some like pretty complex virus that was only working on mobile. So I used to never check any of my emails on my mobile phone. I used to just send them out on the computer. And I would see it and I'd click all the links and it was okay. And so I sent out this big email to, like, at the time we had like 15,000 women on our email list. They were all women in Mary Kay. So I sent out this email and somebody sent me a text and they're like, I'm not sure that you wanted me to go where your link just sent me. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she said, yeah, it kind of went to one of those sites. I don't think that's where you wanted me to go. And I was like, well, I went back to the email and I clicked all the links and I'm like, it takes me to the right place. So maybe you just need to check your browsing history or something. I don't know. And then I got another text and then I got another email and I got another email. And pretty soon all these people are saying, this just took me to a porn site and that's not cool. But I wasn't seeing it on my computer. And then I did some research and I found out it's a mobile virus. And so it was taking people that were clicking on their mobile phone and it was hijacking them and taking them to a porn site. But it wasn't like a soft porn site. It was like a violent, yeah, it was bad. And that's where I was sending all my Mary Kay ladies, right? Click here to learn more about how to sell products and how to recruit. And they click and right? So then I figured out that I had fixed it. So I had my web guy go in and clean out our domain. And he's like, okay, it's fixed. I check it on my phone. It's fixed. I send out another email and I go, okay, it's fixed. All of you that click the link, I apologize. We had a virus, but go ahead. Click this link right here. It's good now. And they click it. Same link, same place. And I did that several times. And then I learned this virus fixes itself. You can remove this virus from your domain and then you think it's all good and it regenerates itself. And then what I learned is I had like 10 different domains on one account and the virus would move from one domain to another. It was like a little rat hiding, right? Like, oh, you can't see me over here. And then I would clean that stuff up and then send people over there and it would jump back over here, right? So it was honestly, it took like 6 months to get this thing figured out. So many thousands of dollars. I don't know how many people I lost. I don't know how many people unsubscribed, how many people still won't click a link that I send out. I don't know. But the point is, The only way you make mistakes is by being in motion. And most people are afraid of making mistakes. So if you're afraid of making mistakes, the only way you can avoid that is don't take action. Don't get in motion. And that will never, ever be the way for any of this stuff to evolve and any success to be created. So get good, focus, dive in, learn the lessons. Now there's a huge difference between, next bullet here, interruption marketing and education marketing, especially when you're a teacher. Interruption marketing is what usually happens on social media because nobody goes to social media to buy programs. It's not why they're there. They go to social media to socialize. It's not called shopping media. It's called social media. But what happens is the second post is always a sponsored ad. And then like the 10th post is always another sponsored ad. So what's happening is people are going here for one reason, and then they're being interrupted for why they're going there by an ad that says, hey, how about this idea? And the ads usually need to be somewhat crazy, like really seductive. Because if I'm going this way and you get my attention to look, but I really want to go over here, what's going to get me to pay attention is like, what? Really? I could do that without that and none of that? All right, I'm going to have to click this one. And then we forget that we're here for another reason, right? So the reason this is really important is what works with interruption marketing is hype. Because when people are not focused on shopping, hype is really the only thing that's going to get their attention and get them to do something, right? So the more that people have adopted this marketing style, the hypier it has to be. Now it's like we got to out-hype the other hype that people are now numb to. So now we got to tell people they can lose weight without changing their diet and canceling their gym membership and increasing the amount of cake that they eat. Really? I'll click on that. So it's like a race to see who can out-hype everybody else with this ADD mind that a lot of people have. And that's like in dating, that's like, sorry if I'm using some vulgar analogies that might offend you, but we're in class 4 now. And so anyway, I'm not gonna apologize for it. But in dating, you've got one or two motives, right? You're either trying to build a relationship or you're trying to get into bed. And if I'm dating somebody and my motive is to get into bed, if what I'm trying to do is get in their pants, the things I'm gonna say is different than if I'm trying to build a relationship, right? And I don't really care. If all I care about is a one-night stand, I don't care if I gotta lie to you. I don't care how you feel the next day. I don't care, because my goal ends when this relationship, this short-term relationship, is done. So I might be a little bit more charismatic. I might hold the doors open a little bit more. I might smile a little bit better. You know, I don't know how you smile better, smile bigger. I don't know. But I'm going to put on whatever front or facade I think is going to be required to achieve my goal. But if I'm into relationship mode, I'm not going to do all that stuff. And if you're into relationship mode, then you're not going to fall for that stuff. So in marketing, it's kind of similar. What's the goal here? Is the goal to try to get in your wallet as fast as possible so that I can recover my ad spend, what I'm paying to be in front of you and interrupt you on your social media experience? Well, in order to pay for that, I got to get money out of your wallet as fast as I can. That's the game. So of course I'm going to say some things to you. I might lie here and there, but who cares? Nobody's paying attention. Nobody's telling me what I can and can't say. But if I'm building a relationship, I can't do that stuff. So here's the thing. Building a relationship on social media is not the same as selling on social media. That's what I want you to understand. And if you want to play that route, that this game of actually giving and teaching, then, which I think all of you should do, then the expectations are different than the social media marketing folks. And the people that are saying, I just spent $1,200 and made $50,000 in 3 days. And that's bullshit, first of all. No, they didn't. They forgot to tell you about the 3 years that it took to get to that point. So did they really turn an ad on and 3 days later make 50 grand? Maybe. But how irresponsible is it to tell people that are wanting to be successful that that's like you could just jump into it and make all that money in 3 days? It's bullshit. But nobody's saying that they can't. All right, I'm going to get off my soapbox here. But the point is, I want you to understand the difference between interruption marketing and education marketing. So my suggestion, the next bullet, is to build a classroom, not a boiler room. A boiler room is one of those rooms that, you know, a bunch of people are calling. It's like a big call center, and they're just calling people and trying to get them to buy stocks or trying to get them to buy timeshares or whatever the case is. Nothing wrong with that. If that works, that's totally fine. But for most of us, for most of you, that's not your thing. That's not your gig. Your thing is not, how can I sell? It's how can you teach? So I want you to build a classroom. Now, the difference between interruption marketing and education marketing is that if somebody is looking for something, if they go to Google and they type in how to overcome anxiety, and you have a YouTube video that comes up with the title, How to Overcome Anxiety. By the way, where do you get the title? Your seeker interviews. And they see a title of a video that matches the exact same thing they're looking for. They are searching for content. They are showing up as a student. They're not showing up as a social media participant who's just been interrupted by this hypey thing. So if they're looking and you give them what they're looking for, they're going to show up in your classroom and sit down and watch a video or read an article. They're seeking information. And there's a much better connection there. It's a different game, but it's a much better connection when they find you if you have a classroom built and you've got all the certainty that we've been talking about in the first 3 modules or the first 3 classes here, okay? So I'm a big believer that everybody should build a classroom first. Thank you, Michelle said that's how I found you. And I've got videos on YouTube. I got some, like, if you ask people how long is a YouTube video supposed to be, most people say like 3-4 minutes, or at the very least 15 minutes. Don't ever go after over 15 minutes. I've got a video that's over 2 hours on YouTube, but you know what it's called? How I made $302,000 in my first 18 months as a life coach. It's a pretty sexy title, and it's the truth. So I walk people through that whole process that I briefly told you about, and people watch the whole thing. Why? Because they're interested. Nobody's going to be scrolling through Facebook and go, oh, look at this 2-hour video. Let me just cancel what I was going to do and watch that. I've watched plenty of videos that are 2 hours, 3 hours. Why? Because I was interested in the content. So when the client shows up, when the seeker shows up interested, the way they consume your information is different because they don't have distraction on their mind. They're not just trying to go through whatever you're giving them so they can get back to their social media. They showed up and knocked on the door and says, and they're asking the questions that they're dying to know the answers to. That's why you knowing your seeker is so critical. They'll tell you what to teach them. And then they'll show up as students with a student brain ready to learn rather than a distracted brain hoping you'll just finish up faster. Just shut up so I can go back to Facebook. So you don't want that brain consuming your information anyway. And it's going to be so much more aligned with teachers. The last bullet in this section is that the best way to sell coaching is actually on the phone. Get people on the phone and talk to them. Ask them questions. I told you that when you do seeker interviews, a lot of people will ask you if they can just hire you because those questions are so engaging and there's a rapport that's built. So it's very difficult to sell private coaching online anyway. I've never, to my knowledge, not once in 15 years has anybody purchased a private coaching program online from me. I don't think anybody ever has. It's always over the phone. Now, there are things you can do online. I'm not saying don't do anything online. Those of you that are at that point or when you get to that point, you can sell products online and stuff like that. But coaching that requires individual, do it on the phone. And it's so much easier to do it that way. So the last section here before we wrap up this whole program is what's the secret? That's what people are after, right? What's the secret? I got the secret for you. There's two secret sauces. The first one is an uncommon commitment to simplicity implemented. Simplicity implemented, not understood, implemented. Nothing happens until something gets implemented. So it doesn't matter how much you understand something. What matters is what do you implement. Keep it simple. And then you have an uncommon commitment to that. That's when you add the tenacity. Find the simple thing, implement it, and then go after it with your commitment. Don't try to commit to all these different things, just a little bit. Go deep with the simplicity as you implement it. And then the second secret sauce, I'm going to do my best to not make this a 2-hour soapbox. Trust the traveler, not the path. Trust the traveler. Who's the traveler? You. That's why I say invest more into you than the path. Invest more into you than the tools, because you're the one that's ultimately going to determine all of it. Trust the traveler. And the biggest thing that we're all going to deal with as a human is fear. So you must understand, the next bullet, understand and learn how to dance with your fear. And the fear can come in many different ways. So I just want to speak for a few minutes on fear in general. The fear can be super intense. It can be shallow. It can be based on visibility. It can be based on money. It can be based on success. It can be based on sacrificing things that are important to you. It can be based on rejection, failure, all the things that we can be afraid of. So I want to spend a few minutes just really giving you an idea, an understanding as best I can of what fear is. Remember, laws, not rules. I don't have a rule that's going to get you through your fear, because I don't know who you are. I don't know what the fear is. I don't know how deep it is. I don't know where it is in your body. I don't know. So it would be a disservice for me to tell you the way to get rid of rejection fear or the way to get rid of the fear of success. That's ridiculous, because it all depends on who we are as people. We're all complex human beings. But if you understand the laws, now we can play a little bit. Now we can dance when they show up, right? We can understand the process. So fear can only live when there's a potential for something bad happening. That's the only time fear lives, right? Like some people are afraid, they say they're afraid of flying. Nobody's afraid of flying. You're afraid of dying in a plane crash. That's the fear. Before you knew that planes can crash, you weren't afraid of flying. Before you knew that you might fall from somewhere high, you couldn't be afraid of heights, right? We're afraid of the negative outcome. We're not afraid of the activity. Nobody has a fear of public speaking. We speak in public all the time, and we've been doing it since we could talk. Nobody has a fear of speaking in public. They have a fear of it going wrong. They have a fear of messing up, forgetting their lines, telling jokes that bomb. They have a fear of a negative outcome of speaking in public. But the way fear works is it becomes over-exaggerated. And if I'm afraid of a specific kind of fear, my brain will convince me that I'm afraid of anything that might lead to that particular outcome. So somebody might have been bitten by a pit bull, and that person's not afraid of pit bulls. They're afraid of dogs. And then they're afraid of animals, right? Because they don't want the same thing to happen again. But they don't identify that, well, actually, it was a pit bull in a certain scenario, and I was actually reaching for their food. So there's no reason to be afraid of even that dog in other scenarios. That's not the way our fear works. Our fear works like, that didn't feel good. I'm not going to go near anything that looks like a potential threat like that. That's the way our fears work. So the reason I want you to understand this is because then the solution is to remove the potential negative outcome. And for us, what you're going to deal with pretty much all the time, your fears are going to be around your relationship with yourself. So the next bullet, as a coach, your main fear will be your self-abuse. That's it. You're not going to be afraid of failing. You're going to be afraid of what you say to yourself after you fail, because that's where the emotion is created. Failing doesn't create emotion. What we say to ourselves after we fail is what creates emotion. And we tell ourselves we're stupid, we shouldn't have done it, see, so-and-so was right about us. That's what creates the negative feedback or the negative emotions. So really, we're not afraid of the activities. We're afraid of what we say to ourselves after the activities don't go the way we want them to go. Hopefully this is landing with you. Hopefully you're seeing how simple and profound this is when we play at that deeper level. Like, what is fear actually, how is it actually working? And then how can I remove it? So the solution is stop beating yourself up. If we had a switch and you could just turn that switch off and you would never again ever say anything negative to yourself, you couldn't be afraid of almost everything that stops people in this business. If we were able to turn the self-abuse switch off, we literally could not be afraid because there's no option that we would beat ourselves up. So the real thing in this game is about beating ourselves up. It's about what we're saying to ourselves when we try. It's about the reason that we're afraid to sell is because what if they say no? The reason we're afraid to market is because we might not get the external validation that we're hoping for. We put a video out there, we put a post out there, we're just waiting for people to like email us a bunch of money and hire us right away because we had a really cool post, and then nothing happens, and you look and you're like, man, remember back in the day when we had the regular phones, right? Way before cell phones, for those of you that are old enough to remember this, and you were waiting on somebody's phone call, like you had a crush on somebody maybe, and you were waiting for him or her to call you up. How many times did you check the phone and see if it was working, right? Like, maybe, is there a dial tone here? I don't know. Is it working? Okay, it's working now, but maybe it just stopped working. Wait, because we're afraid that they might not actually be calling us, right? So I don't know where I just got off on that tangent or how I got off on that tangent, but what we're actually afraid of is what we say to ourselves. What happens if they don't show up? The external validation never comes. So we're like, oh, we put this thing out and only a few people saw it. Like only 3 people saw my story. And I put 7 stories out there and only 3 saw the first and 1 saw the second and nobody saw my last one. That's when we start going in on ourselves. And then the brain's like, well, don't ever put a story up again. That's easy. All at the same time, somebody's just throwing stories up there, right? You see some people's stories and the little lines up at the top are like dots. They're not even lines, they're dots. You're like, whoa, there's like 50 of these ones, right? They're just spewing out content because they're not slowing down enough and beating themselves up and worried about all this stuff. Anyway, I could go on and on and on about fear. I'm such a geek about it. But when we can handle our own self-abuse, then the majority of the work is done when it comes to fears. The last 2 bullets here, success in this industry isn't about your capability. Trust me. Please believe me. You are capable. Why? Because you're a human who's learned lessons in the past, and those lessons will help somebody else, period. It's all you need to know that you are valuable. You are valuable to somebody. You might not be valuable to that body, but you're valuable to somebody who's out there looking for the lessons that you've learned. Just hoping somebody has written an article, hoping somebody has a video, hoping somebody will give them the answers that they're searching for, going through whatever scenarios they're going through in their life, the ones that you went through and you've already learned from. You have massive value to that person. So every single person is valuable in this industry if you have the willingness to share your lessons. But most people are just not willing. Success in this industry is about your willingness, and not your willingness to do the work, your willingness to be you. If you're willing to be you, and you're willing to stand out, and you're willing to be distinct, and you're willing to source your confidence and your desire to teach in the service of your seeker more than in the increase of your bank account, you can win in this industry. But it requires you to change the way that you think and change the rules of the game that most people are playing by. If you're willing to change those rules and go down the other path, you can win. I promise you, you can win. There's not a single person that can't do this if they have the right mindset, if they approach it properly. I don't know how it's going to look. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know any of the details, but I know every single one of you has the capability to be successful. but most people at some point will just choose to stop. They're going to, because it gets too hot in the kitchen. They don't like the discomfort. It's not going the way it's supposed to go. And at some point, the capable person quits. And to me, that's sad. I just felt sadness like take over my body. It's sad when we have a message that could help people, but our intellect convinces us that it's not worth it. And the only way it would convince us that it's not worth it is because it's focusing on what we're experiencing that's negative rather than who out there needs to hear the message. I mean, some of you have life-saving messages, like literally life-saving, like somebody won't kill themselves if they hear from you. If you can source your desire from that place, then you're good. And you've got to get valuable. So what if, instead of the definitions of success we currently have, what if the new definition of success is singing your song? The song that's in you, the one that you have been preparing for your whole life, the one that came out of all those lessons that you learned. What if your only measure of success was whether you sing your song or not? Not how many people like it, not how many people engage with your posts, not how many people buy your program or your product or hire you as a coach, but what if success was simply singing your song? That's it. Doesn't matter how people think. It doesn't matter if they enjoy it. It doesn't matter how they judge it. It doesn't matter what the critics say. This song needs to get out of you. And when we are stuffing something inside of us that needs to come out of us, that's a very, it can be painful. It can create diseases. It can create illnesses. It can create tension and stress that show up in all kinds of other areas of our lives. So if success simply were defined as you singing your song and then you sang it over and over and over and over again, I promise you this, that song will evolve and the people that need it will hear it. I heard a story a while back. I'm not going to tell you the whole story just because of the time, but this guy was talking about his sports career, and he had gotten an injury, a really bad injury in his senior year of high school, and all of his scholarships were taken away. He had scholarships to Division I schools to play football, and he was really depressed, and he didn't know what he was going to do because he was an athlete, and these were all of his dreams, and he had a friend say to him, he said, Otis, if you can play, they'll find you. Just go wherever you go and get really good. And it doesn't matter what school you go to. If you can play, they'll find you. And when I heard that a couple years ago, it didn't really land, but I knew it was going to land at some point, and it just landed for me a few weeks back. If you can play, they'll find you. If you get good, your seeker will find you. But your seeker can't find you when you're not speaking because you're waiting to get good. The person that is searching for what you have needs you to learn whatever lessons are in your way because they're going to meet you somewhere later down the path. You don't know who they are and they don't know who you are right now, but they're going to meet you at step number 19. And that could be your clicking point. They might hire you. They might put you on a big stage. You might save their life, right? But you can't get to step 19 with a big old broad jump. You only get there by going to step 1 and step 2 and step 3. So if you focus on going to step 1, just sing your song and then sing it again and then learn from feedback and then do it again and continue to let that evolve. If you get good, they'll find you. Allow this message to come out. They'll find you. But it requires oxygen. Your message requires oxygen to evolve. Oxygen outside of your face, outside of your skull. Your message cannot evolve without oxygen. And they need it to evolve. So if we change the way that we motivate ourselves, and if we change the standard of success that we use, then you've got a shot. And you focus on teaching, you focus on serving, you build a classroom, you do a lot of these foundational things that I've been talking about. You can do this because people need you. And it might take a little bit of time to find them. It might take a little bit of time for them to find you. But when they find you, let them see that you've been working on this for a while. Let them know that you didn't just throw up a website, that you didn't just put up some sexy marketing title. Let them know this classroom has been getting taught for a while. And the best way to do that is let them know you. Let them see you. You've been through the rough patches. That's how you learned all the lessons that you learned. But you got to be willing to be your message. You got to be willing to become the essence of your message. And in today's world, you've got to be willing to transform people's lives as well as your own. It's got to be in you. If it's not in you, then it's going to be easier to quit when things get tough. But when your message is in you, you go to a whole nother level. And then everything becomes easier because the reason why you're doing this is much bigger than any of the reasons why you should stop, according to your head. 12 years ago, my son was 1.5 years. And we were at home. I worked out of the office in my house back then. And he had just gotten mobile. And for any of you that have kids, you know, like when they get mobile and you put them down and they're not there, when you come back a minute later, that's some scary stuff, right? We want them to get mobile and crawl around like, yeah, wait till they crawl. And then once they start crawling, you're like, I can't wait. Or I wish they were back to where I could just put them here and go to the bathroom and they'll be there again, right? Anyway, this day my son got mobile and he started climbing and he climbed up the steps of our 2-story house and he went up to the top and there were railings that were horizontal. So it was basically a ladder. And so he climbed these railings when he was 1.5 years and he got to the top and his waist was over the top railing. And he saw my wife down in the first story down there. She was showing a friend of mine where the diapers were. And my son got excited and he went, ee, because that was the only noise that he made back then. He was like, ee. He was all excited. And my wife turned around and saw our son above the railing. His waist was above the railing and he started leaning and he was so excited that his arms started shaking. And then he fell. And I was in my office underneath where this was happening, and all I heard was my wife said, Exley, get down. Exley, get down. Exley! I won't yell as loud as she yelled because it'd be a little disruptive here. And then total silence. And then I heard a sound that I never want to hear again. It sounded like something broke. And I came out and I saw my wife with our son who wasn't moving in her hands and she was on the floor kneeling down. And I said, what happened? And she said, he fell. And I said, from where? And she said, up there. And in that moment, I looked at my son and I knew he had died. That sound that I heard was his skull hitting the hardwood floor. And in that moment, I died. And I thought of so much. Why wasn't I there? I put too much into work, all the regrets and resentments, like all this rage hit me in a microsecond. And then he started to cry, which was the most beautiful sound to this day I've ever heard. He was probably only silent for a second, but it felt like 100 years. And then his head started to swell up. It got really big. He literally looked like a light bulb. It looked like kind of like an alien head. His head swelled so big above his ears. We ended up taking him to the local hospital. They ended up putting him in an ambulance and sending him to UCLA because they said he's got bleeding in his brain. And if it gets any worse, he needs to have emergency surgery, and we don't have the facilities here, so you got to go to UCLA. And all the time, I mean, we're just losing it as parents. We just want our child to survive. So he ends up staying for, I think, 2 or 3 nights in the NICU unit with kids that, you know, a lot of them were never going to leave that unit because of the things that they had going on in their life. And eventually my son recovered. He's healthy today. He's 13 and a half. But those couple nights were horrifying, especially for my wife who stayed there with him. During that whole time, she was just in mommy mode. And then after about 2 days, the doctor said, "You know, you saved his life, right?" And she just lost it. She didn't even allow herself to think about that while she was in mama bear protection mode. And then when he said that, she lost it. Before that, I had a friend who was in the house, and so he saw the whole thing. He was the one that she was showing where the diapers were. He saw the whole thing, and I went to him later that night, and I was like, "Oh, what happened?" And he looked like he had seen a ghost, and all he said is, "She can't get there." She's like, "Sean, she can't get there." So my wife had seen where he was, and from the other side of the room, she ran through the toy room. When he fell, she ran through the toy room, made a 90-degree right turn, up a step from carpet to hardwood floor, an immediate left turn, 90 degrees, because there was a wall there that she had to navigate. And then she got to him right before his head hit the ground. So she stopped his fall, but his head still hit the ground. And the doctor said, had you not stopped him, there's no way he survives. But my friend was like, she can't do that. She can't do that. She can't run that far. Like, she ran further than he fell. And he's like, she can't get there. I mean, it was like he was just stuck in this moment because he was there when it all happened, and he was positive he was watching this little boy fall and probably die. So after he got out of my son got out of the hospital, I asked my wife, Sybil, I said, you know, Ryan told me that you can't get there. He said, what you did is not even possible. And I just said, how did you do that? And she just starts crying. And she says, there was no option not to. It's my son. There's no option not to catch that kid. And of course, it means a lot to me in the context of this story and my son. And there are still days that I think, what if it would have been me, and what if I would have slipped? What if I wouldn't have made it? You know, I can still work myself into a frenzy. But her body did something that she wouldn't have caught a plant falling. She wouldn't have caught anything other than her child. Because this body wouldn't have done the impossible unless there was no option not to let that kid hit the ground. And so my message to you and my invitation to you is, what if this work was in you so much that there's no option not to? You can't not do this thing. That's what our seekers need from us. They need that kind of commitment. So that when we struggle putting up an opt-in page, it's no option not to. We can't not do this. There are people needing us out there. We got to figure this thing out or hire somebody to do it. But when you have that level of embodied commitment to where quitting is simply, it's not even on the menu. That's how you win this game. As a teacher, as a dolphin, as a sensitive person, if you're anything like me or anybody that's in my community that I attract, that's the kind of commitment that will bring something out of you that people can feel. It'll resonate. You start sending that beacon of light out through your lighthouse. There are lost ships that will see it at some point, but they can't see it when it's off. And it's not going to be easy. But you got to source your desire from them. You got to source your desire from your commitment to serve humans, not from your commitment to make money. Because I'll tell you what, your desire to make money will not outweigh the irritation of putting up a website, or what happens when YouTube stops uploading your video at 95% and then it doesn't continue, or when people say they're going to do something and then they don't do it, or when you share a vulnerable message and somebody slams you for it. If your desire is external validation of any kind, you're out. You're out. You've got to overpower that with something that comes from such a deep-rooted experience. It's why your story is so critical. You got to source your confidence and certainty from your roots, not from your skills, from your heart and your humanity, not from your certificate, not from your exercises, not from your intellect. And if you can do that, you got a fighting chance against the things that are going to show up along the way at some point in time. That's what I know, you guys. That's all I know is that game. I don't know the one-size-fits-all approach that's going to make all of you $50,000 in 3 days. I don't know that approach. And if there's somebody teaching that and it's actually true and they're able to do that, awesome. But I don't know that way. I only know the foundational way. I only know the way that most people need to go. I only know the things that kick most people out. And I only know the things that get most people back on the horse. That's the way I know. That's the foundational stuff. So if you can play, they'll find you, especially when not playing is not an option. Singing your song. So as we wrap up here, first of all, I honor you. I thank you for contributing to this in any way that you have, for showing up, for listening. If you're still watching this and you've watched the first 3, I mean, we're well over 4 hours together here on this free mini course. And if you're here over 4 hours into a free mini course, that just separates you from almost everybody that's just trying to do it fast. So I honor that. Your 4 hours will create a lot more learning than the fast way, than how people are spending 4 hours consuming only a little bit, but not being present and not implementing. So I honor you. I would love to hear your takeaways. I would love for you to share anything you've gotten out of it. I would love for you to share your testimonials if you would allow us to share those with our crowd. What you got out of it, anything about the process, anything about the curriculum, anything at all that you want to say, I would love to hear it. I'm gonna make 2 invitations to you. Number 1 is to get on the phone with somebody from our company that can help you specifically and individually, not the one size fits all, because you are your product and your seeker is a human and your past is a totally different variable. We need to know so many things before we start giving advice. If you're going to do it this way, if you're going to do it the dolphin way, the teacher way, if we're going to start building a classroom. So the invitation is for you to get on the phone with us and we'll help you identify what's in your way, where you could find the solutions that you're looking for. Any advice, whether it's a business model that you might think about or a seeker, or if you just want help trying to come up with your message, anything at all. And especially if it's something internal. If you have fears over doing videos or putting your message out there or sharing with your parents, in the potential crowd or wherever, anything at all that is potentially holding you back, let us help you. Let us support you. It's a free call. You can sign up at coachseansmith.com/book my call. Michelle, I imagine, is already typing it in, so you can find it here in the comments. If you're not on the live video, we'll put it in a link or a button or somewhere wherever this video is, so that you can get that personalized attention. And I'll tell you, it's the only way to get specific advice. We gotta know what the details are. So it's the only way that you're going to get your specific answers. And what most people are trying to do is trying to get a personal breakthrough with a general approach. How are you going to have a personal breakthrough with your personal details, especially when it comes to building a business, with a general one-size-fits-all assembly line approach? It is impossible. It will never work, but it sounds quick and easy, right? That's one of those examples of the quick way is the slow way. I promise you that. Trust that. So that's the first invitation. And then the second invitation is to consider the bigger program, right? We have a program called Foundations of Marketing for Coaches. It's only for coaches. If you've enjoyed this and my teaching style and what you've gotten out of these short lessons, then take a look at the big one. There's 20 modules in this one. And the point of this whole program is how can we take people who have a message and pace them through this process of marketing, pace them through those 3 phases of getting valuable, getting visible, and then getting valued. So that program is the whole thing, the foundational piece of marketing from A to Z. Deep dive with exercises, with a Facebook support group. I'm still available if you have questions about that program. It's all at your own pace. If you want to go through it all in a relatively short period of time, you can, although I don't suggest you just run right through it. It's all paced to help you learn. Here's one thing that I know how to do. I know how to take people and I'm going to say make them, but you got to participate. But I'm just going to use that language because that's what's in my body right now. I know how to take people and make them valuable. I know how to make them good coaches. I know what the body needs. I know what the mind needs. I know what it doesn't need. I know what it needs to stay away from. I've been studying this for so long, and my heart is for the people that are similar to me, for the people that it doesn't come easy for, right? Like just plug myself into this one little one-size-fits-all template, and then it magically works. I've never plugged myself into any template and have it work. So not once. I'm forever in those one-size-fits-all approaches. But I know the other game. I know the foundational game, the dolphin way. I know how to build a classroom. I know how to take people and help them find their certainty in their bodies. I know how to help them create their brand messaging. I know how to pick apart what they should be talking about and who they should be talking to. I just know how to do that work for whatever reason. Who cares why? But that's what you get in this program, and that's how I designed this whole program from an A to Z kind of approach. And it's all about do this, okay? Here's the concept, do it. Do this process, do this exercise. Then after you do this exercise, then do this thing. So it's all about implementation. It's all about evolution. It's all about learning. And the thing is, you're going to trust the traveler. You're going to get to the place where what you're needing is internal. What you're sourcing your courage, you're sourcing your value, you're sourcing your validation, your motivation, you're sourcing it internal. And then all of the marketing strategies apply. So this program is not without marketing strategies. We talk about how to do social media. We talk about how to build an email list. We talk about how to do article marketing. We spend time on YouTube. We talk about a lot of the details of building the classroom. So there is implementation, how to, but it lands on top of the foundation, right? Icing without a cake is useless. You need a cake. Once you have the cake, then the icing tastes much better. Once you have the foundation, then the strategies can click for you. So that's my intention. I want to share I'm going to share my screen with you and show you a little bit of that particular program. And first, I apologize for that desktop. That desktop is actually way better than it used to be. So the Foundations of Marketing for Coaches, this is the website if you're interested, coachshansmith.com/foundations. You'll hear from certain people, obviously. Candace Kelly, she says it's not your typical fill-in-the-blank marketing program. There's so much of the inner work. Dorothy makes an appearance on here. People have changed. There's Michelle Moore on here. So much of the market is all about danger and urgency and lack and all that. But what that does is it causes us to believe that we're broken and we need to be fixed. You can't market from an authentic place if you think you're broken. But when marketers can light up the desperation inside you, like we talked about, I think it was in the last class, then you're going to come from a place of deficit. You know, we have this addiction to addition. We always want to add more to us. We're not good enough, so we want to add more. We want to add another skill. We want to add another certification. We want to add another platform. And what that does is it keeps us in this constant state of lack, in this constant state of not good enough, inadequate, until I buy another thing, until I learn another thing. What I am so passionate about, what I want you to get is that you have what you need. There are skills, yeah, for you to learn, but your main value comes from you. So I'm not trying to teach you how to change. I'm trying to teach you how to succeed as you are. And in fact, what we got to do is remove some of the stuff that's not you. We don't need to add anything to you. We need to remove some of the stuff that's not you. And then we can take that value and be successful with it. That's the essence of this program. So we're coming from a complete 180 philosophically, right? This is what I was talking about. The majority of the messages are, you're messed up, you need to be fixed, this will fix you. If you just learned how to sell like I know how to sell, you'd be better. If you knew how to market like I know how to market, and if you start marketing just like me, you'll be better. If you understood this platform, you would be better. And that's just coming from the wrong place. So fundamentals is where it's at. We've been talking about dolphins and sharks. If you go to shark school and try to swim like a shark, it won't work because your tail is different. Sharks' tails go like this. If you take your dolphin tail and try to swim like that, you'll just cut through the water. And then you'll fall, you know, you'll sink and you'll drown. And sharks' bodies move differently, right? So you can't go to shark school and try to learn how to swim if you're a dolphin. It's going to fail every single time. So what I'm wanting is to help people who resonate more with being dolphins, with being teachers and not salespeople, and teach you how to succeed from an authentic place. Because if you market like everybody else, it's the worst thing you can do. So we went through this in class number 1, valuable, visible, and valued. Valued is where you start selling and you start marketing and people start paying you. That's the third piece, but you got to have the other two first. There's a little bit about me. There's a scene from my one-man show that I did last year, if you want to watch that, about when I was almost killed by my next-door neighbor. So the foundations of marketing is really about people, not processes. Again, not the tools and the rules, but the people, the laws, right? You and other people. So that's what's really in this program. There's strategy, but it's so much about the inner game. It's not about cookie cutter approach. I just want to read you these pieces here, and then you can decide if it's a good fit for you or not. The structure of the program is 20 deep dive modules. There are laser coaching Q&A calls built into the program so that it'll help you support the process. And I'm also available and will be available in the Facebook group to answer questions that people have. Somebody just asked a question. It wasn't in this group. I don't think it might have been in a different group. Yesterday, they posted a question yesterday, and I ended up just doing a 10-minute video on it and answering her question because it was easier to answer the question with a video. So we want to support you as much as we can. We know that support and implementation is way more important than information anyway. That's how we design our programs. That's how we design our community. That's how we design our support for you. You get handouts, and you get all the archives and downloads. You can download them to your phone if you want, listen to them on the go. You get a Facebook group, as I mentioned. It's best to have a running partner, accountability partner. And I share with you all kinds of templates that I've used in my business that you can use in your business. My intention is that the program quickly pays for itself so that you have belief in you and your work, not just the tools and the rules. I want you to have a brand message that you love, not something that somebody else tells you to do, but something that you love, that you can't wait to share because it just resonates so deeply in your soul. We all have that, but most people never find it because they're trying to do it from external validation. They're trying to do it from the outside in. That's why they don't find the thing that lights their soul on fire. And when your soul is on fire, you sing your song. And when you sing your song, you get good. And when you get good, they'll find you. That's what this kind of inside-out process is all about. We deal with all kinds of the fears of imposter syndrome and failing and what if I do this and it doesn't work, and we talk about technology and all that, but I want to give you the foundational certainty that's required for you to build this business. And there are some of the things that we talk about from a content standpoint. There are 3 different kinds of coaching models. It's important that you choose the right one and don't learn anything about the other 2 models if they're not related to the model that you choose. You're going to clarify your mission, your vision, your purpose. You're going to learn how to use those as fuel. Get certainty in your value as a coach and as a leader. Get certainty in your skills to change lives. Get certainty in your seeker who's seeking you. We've gone through some of that stuff in this program, but we go a little bit deeper in that program. We got different implementation or different examples and feedback from people. We got talk about what market you should go after, what programs you should use, how do you target these people, how do you market on certain platforms, how do you create content forever. One of the things that I've become really good at is content. I'm a content freak, honestly. It's because this creative channel has been opened. And once the creative channel is opened, you can't shut it back down. I mean, I guess you could with a lot of really, with some intention. But your creativity that comes from inside of you, that comes from this sacred place, once that's open, your content goes and goes and goes and goes, and it comes from within you. And a lot of people are scared about what content. I don't know what to talk about. There's no way you could ever not know what to talk about once your creativity channel gets opened up. We talk about the free consultations, how to sell your coaching in free consultations, how to design your programs, how to sell your programs, how to deliver your programs, how to put your programs together from a content standpoint, but also from a mechanical standpoint, how to increase your influence. I give a whole sales template. There are 15 components of authentic sales. We go through that in the program. How to design your websites and all the individual pages to maximize your impact, maximize your conversions, to get more people to join your email list. How do you market offline? How do you book local speaking gigs? How do you create more like higher quality with lower quantity? We have somebody that's taken that approach, and she just started booking calls, or not calls, but talks with small groups of people. Sometimes she would talk to 4 people. Sometimes she would talk to 8 people. But she got good at converting those people into phone calls and converting those phone calls into clients. So she only got exposure to maybe 30 or 40 people over the course of a few months. And I think she ended up getting 4 or 5 private coaching clients. That is really damn good. But she went quality rather than quantity, and it was more authentic for her. How do you build social media? How do you act on social media? I think so many people are doing it the wrong way, and so many people are doing it just like everybody else. And remember, when the markets are burned out, distinction is survival, so you got to do it differently. How to design live events if you want to do live events. How to attract the customers that you want. How to make it all feel good and authentic. How to build your business with family or other life commitments that you might have. How to do email marketing. How to nurture them through the whole process. How do you position yourself distinctly in the market and create your own blue ocean? How do you build your online curriculum? How do you build your offline curriculum? And anything else that comes up is inbounds. So those are a lot of the things that we talked about in the program. As I said, it's an online program. You get these add-ons. There are bonuses from a 2-day live event that we did, and we went super deep at this live event. You can listen to all of that. There were 9 mastermind sessions where I helped people design books and help people overcome whatever fears they had in the moment, like super, super valuable one-on-one sessions basically in a mastermind. And you get access to all of those. It's massive, massive value in that. And as I said, you go at your own pace. The investment, I think, is low for the value that you're going to get. It's $497 if you pay it in full. If you can't do it in full and you need to do payments, $197, and everything is money back guaranteed. So if you don't enjoy it, then just let us know and we'll give you your money back. And there's no reason not to. Honestly, there's no reason not to. I'm going to give you 15 years of what I've learned about how to do it the right way, and then your implementation of it will get it in your body, and that's how you evolve, and that's how your message evolves. And when you get to that point where things start to click, that's when people start noticing you a little bit differently. That's when your identity shifts more from perpetual student to teacher. That's when you start to see more of your value. That's when your creativity starts to come out. That's when people start to get attracted in a whole different way. But there's a process to go through that stuff. And it's not how to sell on LinkedIn. It's not any of those one-size-fits-all approaches. It's just not. So what I wanted to share down here is this is like this intellectual realm. Let me put my camera back on. This is like this intellectual realm over here of where people are caught up in the right and wrong and their intellect and all the rules and fears around money and what's bad and what's good and safety and I don't want to be seen. And like this is where most people are playing, up in this intellectual space. And if you engage other people's intellect with your intellect, then you're just going to get lost in all this mess. And the world has way too much information and all this stuff. What we need to do is drop down from all of that. So this is you and this is your seeker. And you need to just communicate with them at a human level, heart to heart. When you can be rooted in your value and your humanity and you speak to their value and their humanity, the connection there is infinitely different than the confusion here. So do you want confusion or do you want connection? I'm telling you, I promise you, you can do this and they will listen, but you can't do that following these rules up here. If you're willing to play a different game that's more aligned with you, you're willing to have more fun, you're willing to have more impact, and you're willing to give more value, you just got to play rules of a different game. It's like seeing all this commotion above the water, this really crowded swimming pool. You just got to go under the water, and then you see things a whole lot differently. That's effectively the work that we do in this program that I teach, but also it's the work that this world needs. That kind of connection builds massive rapport. It builds trust. It builds credibility. Everybody's trying to build credibility and hype and all the stuff up here. That's not where it's at. And if you're still listening to me, that you have to do this. Because I would have pissed you off so long ago if you were somebody that just wanted rules and tools and you just wanted to flip stuff on online marketing, or you want to do a Shopify site or something like that. Nothing wrong with any of that, but you certainly wouldn't be here if that was your desire. So if this resonates with you, this is the work that needs to be done. If that's the work that needs to be done, then your next question is, who are you going to do it with, right? If I've been resonating with you, then join our community as a client, and let's take this to another level of support. If I don't resonate with you for whatever reason, then say no, but you got to say yes somewhere else. You have to say yes to this work. If this is what you want to do on the planet, you have to say yes to this work. The next question is where? Which one are you going to choose? Are you going to choose this container or a different container or somebody else's container that lights you up better, that you feel safer with, or you trust more, whatever the case is? And if that's not me, I'll be the first one to tell you, then, don't join our community. But don't say no to this work. That's what I'll tell you. That's the non-negotiable. this is what has to happen. So then your choice is now where you're going to get it. So at the beginning of this program, the intention was to put up 4 20-minute videos. You know, so people would consume them easily. And I just can't do that. I just can't do it. Not with this stuff. So hopefully it's been valuable. I know I over talk more than I under talk for sure, but I'm a teacher and I just want to teach and I want you to get it. And I want the people that don't get it one way, I want them to get it another way. And I really believe that this is what a lot of people in the market are craving. This being teaching, feeling, being real, being authentic, right? Let's talk about violent porn. That probably wasn't in your expectation of what you were going to get, nor was it in my expectation of what I was going to say. But this is where community happens. This is where connection happens. And this is not only what I believe the world needs, but this is what each and every one of us need to keep us recharged, to keep us going. If you're like me, you're probably introverted. You're probably sensitive. You're probably tired of just following rules. Like if you're anything like me and you operate that way, like I am so massively introverted, even though I get on these calls and I get on stage and I like come alive off stage, and when the spotlight's off, I am like painfully introverted. So introverted, highly sensitive. I don't want anything to do with the spotlight unless I'm in it. And then when I'm in it and I'm passionate about something like this, you know, then a whole nother me comes out. But no matter how you are, how you operate, you can win. Please, if you don't get anything else, get that. You can win. You might have to change the rules because they don't apply to you, but you can win. You can do this. And somebody needs you. Excuse me. Somebody needs you to figure it out. Somebody needs you to keep going. And when you hear that you just changed somebody's life and you look back and you realize all the stuff that you moved through in order to get to that place, it's going to ignite something inside you that maybe you've never seen before. I don't know. But it's possible. So do not live your life according to what's probable. Live your life according to what's possible. Stay there. Don't ever stop dreaming. The adult society tells us that it's stupid to dream and you should stop being a kid and just grow up and be an adult. I almost said the F word, but I don't swear. As far as you know. Screw that. Dream. Be a kid. Be ferociously curious about life. Live inside that service. And you can win. But if you try to win by being somebody else, no matter what happens, you lose. No matter what happens, if you do anything inauthentically, all results are a loss. All of them. Make $1 million inauthentically, that's a loss. And that's $1 million of pressure. That's worse than when you didn't have it on you. So live your life as you, live truthfully, live authentically, live transparently, and then learn how to make your thing work and find the people that need your thing. Hopefully this has been helpful, valuable. I want to hear from you guys. If you have questions about anything, let me know, and we'll support you however we can. So that concludes these 4 20-minute classes, and I hope you've had fun. Take care.